Hey, who doesn't love Disney? When you think of Disney, you probably think of the Castle of Magic Kingdom, or you think of the Star Wars land, or you think of different rides or different attractions and things like that. But actually, one of the lands in Disney World in Orlando, Florida, Epcot, which is one of the more popular lands, has a much more unique history to it. When you think of Epcot, you probably think of the big silver globe, or you think of the World Showcase where you eat different foods from around the world, which is very popular nowadays, and a lot of people actually go to Epcot just to participate in this trend, which is all over. But actually, the story behind Epcot is much more interesting than that, and Walt Disney intended this to be a futuristic city, not a theme park at all. Today, I'm going to be teaching you about the history of this and where this idea came from and why it did not happen and what Epcot is today. So as I said before, Epcot was supposed to be a futuristic city, not a theme park, and Walt Disney was very obsessed with progression and trying to make the world a better place and more enjoyable for everyone else. And I mean, you can see that when creating Disneyland and Disney World and all the cartoons and things like that. I mean, Disneyland, Disney World are the happiest places on earth is their slogan. And he wanted a place where people could work, they could live, and they could play in a totally different new way. And he wanted technology to be the main driving factor of that, as this was actually a big deal because back in the 60s, technology was not a big thing back then. It was starting to take off. EPCOT actually stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. And yeah, this sounds very futuristic because that's exactly how Walt intended it to be and wanted it to sound, because that's how he wanted the city to be. He wanted a fully functioning city, not a theme park. Different homes, offices, and top-end technology that showed that the world could actually be a better place. And he wanted to show different innovation and how humans could coexist in one in unity. And this was one of his last major big ideas before he sadly passed away, which is one of the main reasons why Epcot did not become a city. So here's the thing, Walt died in 1966 before the city and the plans could actually really take off and become a reality. However, Walt was super determined, and people think that if he had stuck around just a little bit longer, he probably would have created the city, and this idea would have become a reality. And because people think it's because his work ethic and his creativity were top notch. However, after he passed, some of the Disney designers actually wanted to go forth with this idea and make it a reality in honor of Walt. However, his brother, who took over the company after Walt's passing, shot down the idea completely and basically just canned it. He was asked why he shot down the idea, why he did not see it out, and he basically said Walt is dead. And so basically people took it as the idea died with Walt, and now it became a theme park today, and that's what it is today. Because even though it is not a city, Epcot is still a really cool park, and it is opened in 1982, and it's one of the few Disney parks that actually see growth. In 2023, the population increased almost 20% and saw almost 12 million visitors. Part of why people love Epcot so much is actually the atmosphere. Even though some of the old rides like Horizon are no longer there, it still feels like anything is possible, and it's still very inspiring. The architecture, the music, and the World Showcase, which is the eating around the world, it all makes you feel like anything is possible, and I feel like was Walt's main point and why I think Epcot is so good. One blogger even said when you walk into Epcot, it feels like you can dream it, you can do it. So basically, the World Showcase is really influential in Epcot because you basically walk through 11 countries in a day, you try out different foods, you see cool buildings, and you just basically soak in all the culture. And that's part of what makes Epcot so special and why it's so loved by many, because it's not just a theme park, it's a celebration of human creativity and different cultures and things like that. So yeah, Epcot had a very crazy journey, and Walt Disney imagined a futuristic city, not a theme park, for Epcot anyways. And after he passed, it was turned into a theme park. However, I think some of Walt's core values still lie in this land, as it shows tons of human creativity, it shows different culture, it shows innovation, it shows optimism, and Walt stood for all of those things. And that's why I think Epcot is a good representation of him and what he wanted it to be. Thank you.